Hey, how's it going, captains? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I guess I can discuss about what I have been doing lately on World of Warships ever since I cut down on the hours with the grind. Then we can move along and talk about the upcoming Tier 8 Premium German aircraft carrier, the Graf Zeppelin. Then we can top it off with the Royal Navy battleships. So in the background, I have the USS Enterprise. This is a very old gameplay that I saved up in my hard drive. I don't recall exactly what happened in this game, but if it's in my hard drive for this long, I'm pretty sure it is a good game. So what have I been doing recently on World of Warships? Well, certainly, I cut down on the hours with grinding on the battleships and cruisers, and somewhat the carriers if you want to consider that I'm grinding on the carriers because I don't have the tier 10 carriers. I don't see the incentive to unlock the tier 10 carriers because number one, people love to boss around the carriers, and number two, there are rarely any tier 10 carriers in the game, so I'm guessing that there's not many people who play tier 10 carriers. It just doesn't make sense for me to dump so much time just to get a tier 10 carrier and spend 20 million credit just to find out that I sit 5 minutes in the queue. So yeah, I've been cutting on those hours and I decided that I want to do something new or different with me playing World of Warships, and what I did was I took the opportunity to play some destroyers, mainly the Japanese, because I don't know, but I think the Japanese are currently my most favorite destroyers. I mean, I look at the Americans, the Soviets, and the Germans. Those destroyers, they look fun once you get to like tier 8. And that's the problem because I'm trying to cut down the hours with the grind and I just want to play World of Warships, like do whatever I want. So with the Japanese destroyers are actually fun starting at tier 6 and it just gets better throughout its grind, supposedly. But at the same time, the Japanese destroyers are viewed as the weakest class of destroyers in randoms. Now, the reason I specify randoms is because in rank, which I've been playing the Fubuki and the Shinonome a lot just to get to rank 6, they turn out to be very useful destroyers. And from my previous season experience with the Shiratsuyu, one thing about the Japanese destroyers, although they're weak in terms of what they can do compared to all the other destroyers, especially in randoms, they're very strong when it comes to team play because of their ability to scout, since Japanese destroyers tend to have the best concealment, and their torpedoes are very useful for flushing out destroyers that sit in the smoke or near the objective or anyone who tries to contest the objective. And even better, if you get a devastating strike on a cruiser or a battleship, you pretty much make your game's worth. Chances are you will be at the top of the leaderboard just for getting a devastating strike on a battleship. So I've been playing a lot of Fubuki and Shinonome. I do have some gameplays in my hard drive with that. I just got to record the replays, but I might do some videos with them. Now, although I'm playing this season of rank, I think I'm done with it already because once you hit like rank 10 to 6 is really the same because you're gonna be playing with these people all the time. That's how matchmaking works. They group up with every 4 to 5 ranks, and then once you hit rank 5, there's different types of people, different league. But yeah, it's pretty stressful, very salty, and a lot of dumb shit happens. So I decided to just stop at rank 6 and call it a season because I really wanted a Flint. That is the only reason I play rank. But then like last season, I give up because it's just too many games you have to play. I certainly believe that anyone can reach rank 1 if they have a ship that they play that has at least probably a 55% win rate. And the reason I say that is because just play enough games and eventually you will reach rank 1. That is the purpose of rank from what I hear. Most people reach their success by playing like 100 games, 200 games, I don't know. I have like 70 games so far in rank and I stopped at rank 6. You don't really necessarily have to be the best player, just gotta be at least average or at least a little bit above average because you have 55% win rate. Like, what defines average? So yes, I've been playing a lot of destroyers, and it kind of relates to what's been happening to the communities, because right now there is a uproar from different community contributors and community people, because right now Wargaming is trying to fix the passive behavior problems in this game. Like, if you play high tiers, you witness it. You see in games where your team doesn't want to make an effort to capture the flag, and as a result you lose by a landslide because the enemy team has all the objectives and your team just huddle up in the corner, or you get into a situation where all your destroyers are dead. And that goes to the idea that what happened to destroyer throughout its time, because, you know, I talked about this. Carriers were the original class of ships that kept destroyers in check, and when we took away the carriers, just judging from the decline in carrier population, nobody kept the destroyers in check, and destroyers became very powerful. And what Wargaming has done was nerf them in a way where they added a lot of consumables that kind of screw over the destroyers. And this mainly relates to the Japanese destroyers if I just start listing things out. The fighters, the catapult fighters, hydroacoustic search, and radar. Those are the things that really kill the destroyers right now. So currently the state of destroyers are pretty pitiful if you play a class of destroyers that depends on somewhat stealth. And right here, you're about to witness this Scharnhorst to get, this Scharnhorst is just about to get a lot of torpedoes. Like, he is definitely screwed. I was using my torpedo bombers for the Scharnhorst, and I thought I was gonna follow up with the dive bombers, but I don't think it was necessary, because those dive bombers are about to do something much more much bigger damage than what I did to that Scharnhorst, and you're about to witness it. But yeah, it's really rough. And the reason why I say ships that utilize stealth is because those ships are the one who actually goes to the front line and capture the objectives, while something like the Cabaros doesn't care about stealth, because all she does is just shoots. She just shoots and she gets damage. So this Colonize now is about to witness the Enterprise dive bomber. I'm trying to get this dive bomber in, and look at this little pitiful squadron right here. The Enterprise tried to do a strafe with one fighter, and boom! Look at that. Detonation. It's been a while since I actually detonated a ship with a dive bomber. And when I say that, I mean like mainly with destroyers, because I detonate destroyers with my dive bombers with the HE, since the Enterprise was the only carrier that comes with AP. But now you know that the Enterprise AP bombs can detonate a battleships, and the Colonize now was like scratching his head like, what just happened? I was like wondering, did I do that? Did I really just one-shot a Colonize now? And Tess saw in the chat that it says it was a detonation, so that was unfortunate. So let's talk about the tier 8 Graf Zeppelin, because I'm sure many of you guys are curious about what I have to say about the Graf Zeppelin. I watched some communities contributors gameplay on the Graf Zeppelin. I can safely say that in the current state of Graf Zeppelin, you can't really go wrong with her. And right here, look at this, I'm like spamming my controls here because apparently Wargaming fixed the game, right? They fixed the carriers. The UI is just going crazy. I don't know why it's saying these random courses across the map. Yeah, still waiting for the carrier rework, which is another frustration I have with Wargaming. There's a lot of frustration right now. Carriers and destroyers are getting a lot of shit from all the changes here. But back to the Graf Zeppelin, I think she's going to be a solid carrier from what I've seen. I look at these stats. The only drawback with the Graf Zeppelin is that her torpedo bombers has a very similar health pool to a stock tier 7 Enterprise torpedo bomber in terms of the health. Like, very similar. They're basically, in terms of the health of both the fighters, the BF-109T and the JU-87C Stukas, they have tier 7 health pool, but they're somewhat tier 8 planes, because the fighters are the fastest fighters in its tier currently. It's faster than Shokaku. Shokaku was the one who holds the record for being the fastest fighter. Now the BF-109Ts are faster than them. The torpedo bombers, I think they behave like tier 7, just looking at the speed of the torpedo bombers and also the health pool, because the health pool is like 1700, while something like the Enterprise has like 1800 1900 HP if you get the upgrade module, of course. Without the upgrade module on the Enterprise, your torpedo bombers are exactly the same as the Graf Zeppelin HP pool. Now it doesn't behave exactly the same because the Graf Zeppelin has a way better drop pattern. If you haven't seen the drop pattern, it is the German Iron Cross, which I was quite surprised that not many people mention about the German Iron Cross. I think I only see like one person commenting on the video where someone was describing the Iron Cross as some kind of directional pad on the controller, while people pointing out that it was the Iron Cross. When I saw that cross, I knew it was the Iron Cross. Someone else described it as the plus sign, but really it is the German Iron Cross. I mean, come on now, people. They even painted the German Iron Cross on the carrier deck itself. So it looks like a promising carrier. It's going to be a controversial carrier for sure, because the Graf Zeppelin now holds the title as having the most torpedo bombers in the sky and the most damage per torpedo hit, because that used to go to the Japanese with having the most torpedoes in the sky and the Americans having the highest alpha damage per hit with the torpedoes. Graf Zeppelin has both, and a lot of people are questioning if she's going to be balanced. And to me, in terms of the fighters, Shokaku is going to win against the Graf Zeppelin, and the Enterprise or the Lexington can also win against the Graf Zeppelin if they can catch them, which is the key thing here. So Graf Zeppelin has to really, she's like a Kaga. I view this as a Kaga where, yeah, your fighters are not that great. You won't win that much battles with the air unless you're going against somebody who's not good enough with the fighters. I think she's going to be an easy carrier to use because the drop pattern seems reasonable in terms of, when I say reasonable, I mean like easy to use compared to something like the Enterprise. I don't mind Enterprise drop pattern. I still wish that the Enterprise drop pattern was a little bit tighter because at times it kind of gets ridiculous. But, you know, when you think of the average consumer, when I say reasonable, average consumers want something powerful, right? Something strong. And the drop pattern, the Iron Cross, is a cool looking design, cool idea, genius of wargaming, and I think it's going to be a solid carrier. I mean, you can't go wrong with 15 torpedoes. Come on now, you're not using dive bombers that depend on RNG. I mean, yes, the Enterprise has great AP bombs against German battleships, but when you go against Amagi or you go against the Iowa, it's pointless. It's absolutely useless because you need like, how many runs? 5 runs, 6 runs to do that much damage to take down the Iowa? Yeah, by the time you even do your 3rd run, your planes are done. You run out of planes because the Iowa's probably shoot them all up. So yes, Graf Zeppelin. Now you're probably asking me, am I going to buy the Graf Zeppelin? Now I have known the Graf Zeppelin for quite some time. When I started playing carriers, I have done research about other nation carriers because, you know, when you see a lot of Japanese and American carriers, you question, does the French have carriers? Does the Germans have carriers? Does the Italian have carriers? And the answer is yes. The British, of course, have carriers. They were one of the pioneers of carriers. They didn't build the first carriers. They were the first one who came up with the idea of carriers. That goes to the Japanese who built the first carriers because they want to be the first one out into sea with their carrier on the whole show. So, am I going to buy her? I think she's one of the most sexiest carriers. I did not expect Wargaming to release a German carrier. The reason why is because Germany wasn't known for their carriers. They're more well known for their battleships. I thought they were going to release something like the British carriers instead because the British had a lot of carriers. But yeah, this one came out of nowhere, and it was one of the carriers that I think is, that I personally, if you look at the Graf Zeppelin, if you just imagine it, just looking at the way she's designed, she's one of the most sexiest beasts ever. That'd be the only reason I buy the Graf Zeppelin, because the way she looks. In terms of how she plays, I have the Taiho, I have the Kaga, they have a lot of torpedoes. Should I spend another $55 to $60 on a carrier that does the same thing as my Taiho and Kaga? I guess, you know, I could use that $60 on games that I want, like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I'm not sure that you guys are interested in that game. I might buy the game because it seems to be very popular and interesting and fun. But maybe, just maybe. So Graf Zeppelin, I might buy her, but chances are, I'm not sure. I might go for a second run. If I don't buy her the first time, don't worry, I will try to buy her the second time if they release her in the premium store again at a lower price, hopefully. Royal Navy battleships. Now, I forgot to mention about the destroyers. So not only was I playing these Fubuki and Shinonome, I actually purchased the high school fleet Harakaze. I know. There's, the average age of World of Warships, or average age in a wargaming game, is 45 years old. When you have high school girls, the girl's voice is high pitched in sense, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's Japanese voice, of course. They sound completely different from American, European, and all the other languages. And warships. Yeah, it doesn't sound so great. A lot of people hate the cartoon aspect of this game. At least the Harakaze is looks like an actual ship. It doesn't look like the Arpeggio with the fancy colors, the outrageous color, I put it that way. But I purchased her because, well, at first I didn't want to buy her because of the price, and I was kind of questioning, should I get her? I was on the line, and the reason I purchased her is because I wanted a premium Japanese destroyer. So I was on the line, and the ship is gonna be out for a very long time. Like, it's a year. It's gonna be in the store for a year until patch 0.6.8 came out. And what it did was that it buffed the Harakaze camo. Now keep in mind, I can put a Japanese captain on the Harakaze so it doesn't have the female voice. And if I ever have any gameplays with the Harakaze with the female voice, I'll probably mute it for the sake of most people, because most people can't tolerate it. But I bought her because of the camo upgrade, because it relates to the Royal Navy. Because I'm saving up for the free XP right now for the Royal Navy. So I was thinking, you know what, since I'm playing a lot of Japanese destroyer right now, why not get a camo, the Harakaze, which comes with the camo that gives you the 100% free XP bonus, and also play Japanese destroyer, and also it trains my Japanese destroyer captain. So that was the moment where my decision swayed to purchasing the Harakaze. Am I going to do a video with the Harakaze? Maybe. Really depends, because I'm not sure how many people are going to like the video, because like I said, average age is 45 years old guys looking at high school girls sailing the boat. I mean, did America did their job? They pacified Japan. I mean, they still learning their Second Amendment. And now that ain't American, right? They gotta be American. Yes, they pacified Japan, and this is the result. This is the product we got. We got girls in ships using weapons. Well, to me, it's not a big problem. I'm still playing the ship as in terms of a destroyer. She's just a stock Kagero. So while I was playing the Harakaze, I'm farming the free XP for the Royal Navy battleships. Now, which Royal Navy battleships am I concerned with? Well, to be honest, the Royal Navy battleship that I really want is the HMS Nelson, because you guys know me, I'm a big fan of the Izumo, and I love the Dunkirk. I just love the way they put these turrets facing forward, because, I don't know, they look cool to me. Some people think they're ugly. I can't wait to get the Dunkirk camo. You bet I will get that French. That one screams nationalism. That is an amazing camo. Hands down, probably one of the best camos in this game. Black with the French flags color, the red, white, and blue for the revolutionary, right? The French Revolution. So I'm gonna try to get some free XP and then unlock the HMS Nelson, and then I'm going to unlock King George V. Those are the two battleships that I really want to get. Now, right now, from what I've been hearing, a lot of people have been talking about how the current testing phase of the Royal Navy is all over the place. Like, people have been debating that why does the Royal Navy battleships in the high tiers getting radar and have ridiculous heal, and then people were complaining about how some of the Royal Navy ships were too weak. Yeah, that's World of Warships community in a nutshell. Everyone complains. I mean, it got to the point where I just don't trust anyone on the forums anymore, because we tend to overreact, but at the same time we are right at times, which is the biggest reason why wargaming just doesn't trust the community. When you hear things like, why does wargaming don't listen to the community, is because of this reason. We got this major polar opposite disagreement. Like, you got one side people who are crazy, who thinks like this ship is garbage even though the ship is fine, and then you got people who who have legitimate reasons, but wargaming, their company, they don't don't play World of Warships every day. They just make the game, right? They don't know who to trust. Even community contributors themselves, they sometimes don't listen to them. Look at the Enterprise. A lot of people wanted the Enterprise to change, even most community contributors. But in my opinion, I think the Enterprise just fine. I do wish they fixed the torpedoes, but hey, that it is what it is. She does have a very solid win rate in the current stats right now. I have like at least a 50% win rate. If you compare it to like something like the Ranger, I mean, if the Enterprise performed like the Ranger, then that's a different story because the Ranger's win rate is like 40%. Yeah, it's awful on the Ranger, and she's tier 7 with the Saipan, Kaga, and the Hiryu. So Royal Navy ships, I'm definitely going to get the HMS Nelson and the HMS King George V. Now, I've been hearing about Monarch, I've been hearing about Orion. Queen Elizabeth, those ships, I'm not that, into it because they're low tiers, number one. I mean, you can't go wrong with low tiers most of the time. Queen Elizabeth, not that thrilled because I have HMS Warspite, which she is a Queen Elizabeth class battleship, if you didn't know. So I've been playing the Warspite for a very long time. She was the first premium battleship that I purchased on this account. So yeah, you kind of got an idea that I know how it feels to play the Queen Elizabeth. The Lion class battleships and the Conqueror, I am just not going to touch them. If I get the King George V, and I love playing the King George V with her beastly quad 356mm gun, which is another controversial topic about the King George V. People were complaining that why does King George V have 14-inch guns in tier 8 matchmaking as tier 8 ship? A lot of people wanted Nelson to be tier 8 while King George V at tier 7 because Nelson has 406 or 410mm guns, I don't recall, but she has 16-inch guns. It would make sense to put her at tier 8 while the King George V, she was limited by the treaty. Her guns were limited. She was supposed to have 381mm guns like the Hood, but they limited her because, it was treaty, so they gave her 14-inch guns, 356. To me, the reason why they put King George V at tier 8 is because she's a newer ship. Nelson, she is a older ship and she does have flaws, historically speaking, which means that it would make sense to put King George V at tier 8. And most of the tier 8 ships are from the 1930s, while the tier 7s are from the 1920s or even before the 20s. Look at the Nagato, look at the Colorado, when were they built, when were they relevant. And the Nelson was built in the 20s, while King George V was commissioned in the 30s to fight the Germans, like the Prince of Wales, which probably going to be a premium ship, since Prince of Wales was famous for fighting the German battleship Bismarck, and also I think she was sunk later on by the Japanese carrier Kaga. So yeah, definitely excited for the Royal Navy. So far I have 80k free XP. I'm going to try to skip the beginning because in the earlier tiers, like, it's going to be like the German battleships when they came out. Everyone's going to be on the queue, 150 battleships in the queue, and it's just not fun when you have too many battleships in the game because the game is so damn slow when you have this many battleships. So yeah, I want to skip that battleship apocalypse and at least get to the Orion. I already know about the Orion because I was playing Steel Ocean. I have the Orion in Steel Ocean, but yeah, I'm really hoping I can just skip tier 6 and get the HMS Nelson. That's the one I really want, Nelson. I can't wait to try out Nelson. Now, I've been hearing that they have nerfed Nelson's Sigma value from 2.0 to 1.9. Honestly, if Nelson can get a 50% win rate, I don't care how bad she is. Even if she's on the line, if she has flimsy armor, it doesn't matter to me. I think she's just a badass looking ship. She's definitely one of the most beautiful ships in history, in my opinion, of course. People think she's ugly. How dare you? How dare you question the looks of the Nelson? Yeah, Nelson, King George V, those are two ships I'm looking for mainly. I hear Monarch, which is another ship that is controversial. I'm not sure why it's controversial. People, for some odd reason, people make a big deal of the name Monarch. I think it's a beautiful British name. I mean, come on now, Monarch. When you think of Monarch, what do you think of in the UK? I can't fathom why people are making a big deal about the name. Some people were saying that that's the most ugliest name, but America has the USS Freedom, which is a aircraft carrier, aircraft carrier. Yeah, don't you think that's a little bit too much freedom? But Monarch, I think that's a beautiful name. I might look into the Monarch. I think Monarch is going to be a premium tier 7 battleship. Now the Monarch is a paper ship, I believe. She was part of the preliminary design for the King George V, but like I said, the treaty has redefined the ship design. So the Monarch actually has 381mm guns, but she was never able to reach the seas because we got the King George V with 356mm guns. So aside from that, you got any questions? Leave them down in the comment section below. Yes, I'm still playing Oblivion. Yes, I'm still looking into other games. If you guys, interested in any other games like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, or I might do Rage, Skyrim, trying to finish up on Fallout if I can. Still very busy at school. I'm taking a high-level mathematics class, if you're curious what's called. It is differential equations with matrices and all sorts of stuff that engineers need to use in their field. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time on World of Warships.